What is up, my ninjas? This is Strident, and I'm doing a little. I know I'm late, but I'm doing my thoughts on this Man of Steel image that we got a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, or whatever. I'm happy. I am really happy. I mean, you can see clearly that uh, the design has the trappings of modern superhero movie. I don't know, design. You can see the fabric that you see the weave that the costume is made out of, because people love that now, because they can't just buy that it's tights of some sort. It's got to be that generic ass cross weave. But the shit looks cool here. It doesn't look so specific. Like, it doesn't look like Spider-Man shit. It reminds me of it, but it's got a more, I don't know. It almost looks like leather, but then it has that weird weave to it. It kind of reminds me of uh, Arkham Asylum, the way Batman looked in that game, in Arkham City. But I already had faith in uh, Nolan and Zack Snyder when I heard they were doing this. I had wondered years ago why the Wachowskis and why Zack Snyder haven't already done this. And then when I heard that they were going to do it, I was happy, as you probably know, because I've mentioned this in past videos. Um, I'm just hoping that this movie is as awesome as it looks like it has the potential to be. Because if it sucks, I'm going to be really sad. But if it's awesome, then it'll go back to that one that idea that a lot of us DC fans noticed, and that even DC themselves is kind of banking on. That it only takes Batman and Superman to rival the entire Marvel universe. And they have their track records. There's a few screw ups in there. I think both Batman and Superman have about two screw ups as far as films go. Oh, I bet Superman has three actually. God, I forgot all about Superman Returns. Good God, what a turd that movie was. But still, you know, like I said, the first two Superman movies are classic. Same thing with Batman. Batman Returns and the first Batman, and then The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, and soon Batman or Dark Knight Rises. It's gonna be, like I said, it's only gonna take these two to rival Marvel. And then to think that on top of this, we will at some point get a Justice League film and possibly spin-offs with the other characters. That'll be awesome. Hopefully they'll be able to erase the stain that was the Green Lantern film, because I said it a long time ago. If you're gonna make a Green Lantern film, don't start with Hal. You need to introduce the whole Corps first. Make a story about the Corps in space and end it with the promise of Earth's Green Lantern, because we're minuscule in the universe. So anyway, that's my topic, or my thoughts on this topic as far as Superman goes. I'm a Superman fan. I'm a DC fan. I'm happy. Mr. Cavill looks just like freaking Dan Jurgens' artwork, which makes me happy because we needed that. Someone look at some artwork and say, we can duplicate that, but with a living person, and we don't have to do all this makeup and all this craziness. So I don't know. Looks good. Looks awesome. In honor of all that, I know I've showed you most of my Batman collection, or a bit of my Batman collection. I am going to do a little showcase of my Superman collection. It's not as crazy as the Batman collection, because honestly, it's only a handful of Superman figures that you need. So I'm going to show you guys the ones I think are the best. I'm going to show you the villains I have, and we're gonna call it a wrap after that. All right. So stay tuned, people. All right, people. So as you can see, that is Total Justice Superman. My little brother and I were into the DC stuff for a long time, and that was actually his Superman. This whole video, in general, is a little bit dedicated to my brother, because he was the Superman fan growing up. I knew of Superman growing up. Obviously, I used to watch cartoons and stuff even before he was born. My dad and I and my mom used to watch the movies and stuff like that. But he was the one who kind of became the hardcore fan while I was more of a Batman fan. And as he grew up, he kind of, he still likes the character, but he's not as geeked out about it as I am. So anyway, these figures, the majority of them are DCUC figures, except for the Total Justice one. The Total Justice one right there, he came with armor, but it kind of was a little cheesy, and it served a purpose. It was solar armor, so it absorbed the sun to enhance his powers. But since we already had the recovery suit, we almost never used it. But Superman is awesome, and is his supporting cast. And over the years, this is the supporting cast that we had. Besides the whole entire Justice League. Many of these characters showed up a lot later. Some of them were within our Superman world even when we were kids. Supergirl and Power Girl, they kind of were later. After my brother kind of grew out of this, when I started to get more hardcore into it, my son and I we'd come up with stories, and somehow these guys would be in there, and it was more mimicking what we read in the comics. Of course, you couldn't have Superman and not make mention of Batman at some point. Growing up, my little brother and I, or my younger brother, I should say, because he's not little anymore, we used to have Superman come to Batman to learn some things. And he learned how to fight a little bit better, and things like that. Learned a little bit more about some types of Earth tech that way. You couldn't have Superman and not have any mention of Steel. In my opinion, of all the Supermen that came after Superman's quote-unquote death, Steel was the man. He was intelligent. He was pretty powerful. He was just on point. He knew what he had to do. And of course, there was his, Natasha, the second Steel. We had this little plot one time where Steel helped train Kara, as well as other members of the Justice League, but mostly Steel, because he had an S on his chest. It just made sense. We always had Steel as Superman's backup. There was actually a point in time when we played our version of the Death of Superman, and Steel was pretty much Superman, and he was constantly upgrading his suit so that he could do things that were more Superman-like, more speed, etc., more strength, all that stuff. Here he is with Superman in the recovery suit. There was a comic I read years ago. I can't remember the exact number. I'm not that geeky, but Steel and Supes teamed up, and he was questioning the whole time, is this really Superman with the black suit on? And he was using guns and stuff. Here are the Total Justice Superman and the JLA Steel, which is kind of like an offshoot of the Total Justice line. They just stopped making the crazy armor for the figures, and they just included everybody that was in the JLA. When we played as kids, these were the figures that we played with the most. Steel always was just around the corner to help out, Superman. It wasn't like even a question. It just made the most sense, which is why I always wondered why we haven't gotten a good rendition of, a really, really good rendition of Steel in the animated series. This Superman is the DCUC Superman that you see all over the place. He's been packaged in all the 2-packs, etc., etc. It's my favorite one because the suit is dark. It's kind of like I want to say from the mid-90s to modern Superman colors. The blue is dark and the red is vibrant. The original Superman from I want to say the 60s to the 80s, early 90s, he had this sky blue costume and the red was a little bit lighter. Kind of like the first Superman I showed you that came in the 2-pack with Batman. And it's cool, but I prefer this in comparison. That cape was a pain in the behind to make, so I hope you guys dig it. But as you can see, his posability it's superb. There's not really that much more outside of being like a straight up, shelf figure that looks nice on the shelf. His articulation is awesome. Here he is kind of close to the pose of that new Superman image from the movie. It's just, he's the most ready, He looks like he's ready. Here he is taking off and flying away. It's just cool that, whatever you can imagine this guy doing, for the most part, he can do it. And the poses he takes the poses naturally. The joints work really well. His ab crunch works backwards, forwards really well. His head actually tilts all the way back. The Four Horsemen did an awesome job with this figure, and it's my favorite of the bunch. And it's weird because he came way late. I think he was the last Superman I got, and he came in the 2-pack with He-Man. And before this, I wasn't really planning on getting another Superman because I thought I had, enough. I like the way that his legs actually come together so that he can stand with his legs, closer, and he looks more, I don't know, regal. Now, this Superman, as far as play goes, when my son and I actually play, this Superman and Batman are the two that we use the most. They're really sturdy, especially that Superman, and he's kind of big, so it works on a very simple level because I always saw Superman as being a burly country guy, and Batman being ripped and muscular as well. But you couldn't at all have these characters and have Superman without having someone for him to fight, and that's where the villains come in. Now, this is more of an abridged version because there are some villains I'm still in the process of getting, and there's some villains that I actually collect and connect figures that I'm trying to put together, like Imperex. But these are the villains that throughout the whole time of collecting Superman, Batman, etc., these are the reoccurring ones, the more powerful ones. These are ones that I think of as straight up Superman villains. I don't like those side characters that just seem kind of, whatever. They're just generic just to be there. I like the more grotesque, powerful, like Parasite here. That's a scary looking version of Parasite. I liked this Bizarro. Unfortunately, one day I came in my apartment and his arm was just off. And this was I got him years ago. That is my Calabac figure, Collect and Connect. Awesome figure. Now that is the first DC Superheroes Darkseid. I'm trying to put together the Collect and the Connect one, which is like twice the height and size and width, whatever, of this Darkseid. But I mean, look how pissed he is, These guys are mean looking. But as you can see, I got the composite Superman over there, and you're probably wondering what that McFarlane figure is doing in the back. Well, that was our Brainiac growing up. I'll get back to that. This is Despero from DCUC. It's a Collect and Connect, and there's the Total Justice version. And you can see they've got a lot of things in common because the design is pretty much the same. They chose that classic version of him, not the Justice League version from the cartoon. But, back in the day, he was the pain in the ass. We had Darkseid always send him out to do stuff because when we were younger, we didn't know as much about Despero, so we had him as Darkseid's minion. Plus, he came in the Total Justice line, and he was the only other villain besides Darkseid. So, as you can see, the boots, the pants, the straps, they're all the same. Even the armor is it's the same. The Horsemen just took it to the next level. And I mean, it's kind of awesome to have a villain from your childhood reimagined, and they do such a good job. So they added the menace that was missing from the Total Justice one, but you gotta admit that Total Justice one is pretty hardcore considering what most toys look like back in, what was that, 92 or 93? So, awesome figure. And Brainiac. I always pictured Brainiac as this self-replicating monstrosity of a robot, or he's not really a robot, but a sentient robotic being. I never liked the humanoid version of Brainiac, so I bought this, I think it was Cyber Spawn, and I bought some other Spawns back in the day, but this one was durable, and this was the second version I bought because I think the original was red. I loved this figure, and it looked like a movie version of what I thought Brainiac could look like. So it was just a no-brainer that we made him Brainiac. And this dude fought everything. We got him back when, like I said, superheroes were about 4 to 5 inches, and the villains were always enormous. And he used to beat up on our small Superman, and he managed to survive until now, where he gets to fight a full-size, fully articulated Superman. And it's kind of funny that, like, back in those days, there was no articulated Superman. We just had the animated series, and that's it. Because our Toy Biz one broke a long time ago. Here's Lex trying to decide what kind of kryptonite he wants to use on Superman. Synthetic red and blue, or the original rock. And that original rock actually came with my brother's Kryptonian battlesuit from the Superman Man of Steel line from Kenner back in the day. So, and we still have that somewhere, I think, at my mother's house in New Jersey. So at some point, I'm going to go back and get that. Now, it just wouldn't be fair if I didn't go back and add some information on these Total Justice figures. I got these way back when the series first started, and I had to put the DC's Trinity here in this video because, like I said, Superman has a really awesome kind of supporting cast, and when we were little, we were aware of this, and we made sure that they were always present when we did play. I always dug these figures. The Wonder Woman and the Batman were originally mine. The Superman was originally my brother's. I always loved how this Wonder Woman, who also came from the JLA line, was taller than both Batman and Superman. So, I always dug how Superman managed to change slightly, almost like stylistically, but his costume is so iconic that it should not change. And I only got the ones that logically followed the designs, aesthetic that I feel Superman should always have. So that was a look at my figures. I hope you dug what you saw. Also, those were my thoughts on the Man of Steel movie coming out soon, and that's pretty much it for me right now. So I hope you dug it. Hit me up in the messages, let me know what you think, if you got any thoughts or ideas or whatever, and I'll be back with more reviews later. Peace.